Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in today's long-awaited video, we're going to finally review Aldo as a Stellar Awakened level 100 unit. This is the newest upgrade to him that just happened a couple of days ago. I have a video of the fights required to unlock his great abilities, and so check it out on my channel as well. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Now, of course, with level 100, there's a lot of new abilities. The Stellar Awakened system is very complex, and hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate all those intricacies. His regular moves have been revamped as well, even if you don't Star Awaken him. And so, like I said, hopefully I will be able to demonstrate a few of his tips and tricks. Now, the most question of all is he hot or not?
He's so hot that he's a star.
Awakened. Anyways, remember that also by finishing the 3 different fights with Aldo, you do get his personal armor, the Asterism bracelet, as well as a Dragon God badge. They add a little bit of abilities to him, but take a look at all his new abilities depending on his Stellar Burst boost, and keep in mind that these are all at level 80, as in to get all the abilities. Now, if you're newer to the game and you don't have an 80 light Aldo, some of this will be a little bit less effective. You won't be able to unlock all the Stellar board, and I'll show you that in a little section. However, for veterans to the game, they should have a 255, in which case you're going to have a lot of these abilities unlocked. So anyways, you can see that by buying everything, you can get up to type res of all enemies minus 40% on one turn, and that's when you activate the Stellar Burst boost mode. Also, note that when he does have 3 light allies in the front line, his Stellar gauge will charge up a lot more and faster. So keep that in mind when you are planning team comps. Now, this one is really good. For those who've had AS Flam in the past, you know how useful it is to have an AF gauge at 50% after each battle. With Aldo now, if you've unlocked his ability, at battle start with 3 light allies in the front line, you're not going to have an AF recovery to 100%. So obviously on a team with other light allies, and I don't see how you can't have 3 light allies. I mean, you can do that with a fire slash team, fire elemental team, you know, whatever you want to do. You're going to have a full AF bar every time, and that means for mobs, you can clear him. He's got really powerful AoEs already, and other things like that. Now, obviously, I do have Ogre Rancorum Light. Again, a lot of these, equipment and things like that were from other fights in the past, and so just check out my channel if you need more information on how to get Ogre Rancorum Light. That was a separate super boss fight at that point. Now you can clearly see that his armor, damage 1 HP max, speed up, and his badge is power 35 and NP consumption down. And so the damage 1 max HP up, I don't know if that stacks with the Grasta sharing. You can let me know in the comments below if that is the case. Anyways, let's go to the Stellar board so I can show you what I mean. So as I said, there are a bunch of different nodes, just similar to your regular 5-star board. You start here, and you can buy the abilities as you go. Some of them, the far ones like here, cost a lot more, and so my recommendation is if your light units are light levels are lower, especially not just for Aldo but for say Sirius, you can buy the 4, you know, right around here, the ones closest to get the ability, and try to unlock the ability plus, because that's where you're going to get a lot of the more powerful abilities. So you can see the basic one is AF gauge to 50, and then once I have that one, AF gauge to 100. Same thing with this. You get type res down 20, and then when you unlock it, it's type res down 40. And then the Star Worm Slash, which is his Stellar move, is not only more powerful as in DPS wise, it also costs less MP. In the case of this one, again, more damage and more light stored up, which is kind of weird. I'm not really actually sure what that means. Light power stored up. Anyways, all right, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea how to kind of unlock his board and what to look for. Now let's go over all his moves, and again, I do apologize if I am making some mistakes. This is brand new for me as well. I've used Aldo since day one, and of course, if you actually see all the various videos I've done in terms of reviewing Aldo, things have come a long way. Now, keep in mind, again, if you're new to the game, some of these moves, especially the 5-star moves, Dragon God Slash, as well as X/Light, won't unlock until you've gotten to at least chapter 83 of the main story. There's an event where he gets a lot more powerful, and so keep that in mind when looking at these move sets. But that being said, Volcano Blade. Again, all of these moves have been revamped from years past. Fire Slash, single enemy large, crit damage plus 30. Note that the extra benefit is now buff effect increase for light allies, so that's now 45% crit damage up. Crit damage up is always great, non-capped, and so we love seeing that. Dragon God Slash Sign. Slash attack non-element, so this is a non-type attack. Single enemy XL. Physical res now 70% down instead of 50% down. And it increased strength according to the user's light point. So obviously if you have a 255, you're going to have a lot more damage with that. Also in AF, it will get a lot more powerful. So you can do a lot of damage in a slash team, especially if you need a non-type slash, aka some enemies are absorbing or null to fire, then you still have an option of using Aldo in those teams. Now, his main DPS does a lot more in the AF, so keep that in mind as well. But even so, outside of AF, it's actually quite powerful still, and remember that physical res down is very, very useful for helping your other teams do more damage, especially if you don't have anyone else doing so. A lot of the newer enemies have equipped damage to kind of, I guess, counter that. All right, in terms of the 5-star moves, Fire X/Light, again, his mainstay, has gotten a lot more powerful. Fire Slash attack on all enemies times 2 XL. Type attack of all party members now 50% up. And increased strength according to user's light point. So same thing, at 255 you're going to have max damage. Some of the other moves here we're not really going to have to go over. Although of note, you do have Swift Cut here, which now does a dual debuff 25-25. That's much better than his original, which is only powered down 20. And so again, he has modifications to his blaze sword. I don't think anyone's going to be using those, so I'm just going to leave those out, but you can take a look at those moves as you see fit. This one is the stellar move, and so again, if you can get your Aldo to 120 or better, have the 4 move slots. 80 light will have all 4 move slots. You definitely want the 3 moves I have here plus Star Worm Slash as your 4th move. I would not equip it as your main AF move because I think that the X/ might do better, especially if you're doing fire teams. However, I guess you can activate it as a mainstay. Just slash. All right, so note that the Star Wars Slash again is a non-type move. Slash attack on all enemies XXL, power and speed plus 50%, and then it's obviously based on his max light. And in Stellar Burst, and I'll try to demonstrate that as well. Stellar Burst is essentially a secondary bar, kind of like an EX bar. So outside charging it all the way up, you'll still have the benefits of using Star Worm Slash. It just is a lot less powerful, and hopefully I can demonstrate that as well. In Stellar Burst, and this is the move you can use within or with outside AF to pause the AF if you need to. This now does not only more damage, power and speed plus 100, so capped his own boost. And if you have a team of light over 500, and remember, if he's 255, that's already halfway there. You can use units such as Aisha, which is a fire setting unit for 255 for a total of 500 right off the bat. There are other units you can have some synergies with, or if you're a dolphin and whale and already have one other light unit to 255, you can already get there. That is going to do more damage. And note that it does change its move from a non-type attack to target's weak point, and it'll automatically detect it, kind of like Alma out there. So one thing to note is that this move can still be Kaleidoed. So if you have someone like AS Nikoko, you can change this non-type move to the type of the zone in play. And I'm sure there's other kind of shenanigans you can do with that. All right, Grasta board is pretty much the same thing. I have preset things based on what I need. And we remember at 4 Grasta slots, you do have an extra slot. You can go all 4 pain, but just as a kind of like a catch-all, I leave proficiency debuff res minus plus 100 shielding, so that if we fight enemies, and most of them can, especially the higher stages, can apply debuffs to weaken your team or your main DPS. If Aldo is your DPS, won't be affected by those kind of things. And of course, same thing, adversary, which is you know, like the enemy numbers. You've got the bullseye, and you got MP consumption, as well as his you know, main specialized Grasta Dragon God's Might. 5-star board is still the same thing, I think. Nothing new. All here. And remember, with all the different Grasta combinations, you can reduce or increase his MP consumption as needed, and his personal things. One other thing to note is that because he's the main character, he actually picks up a lot of different personality traits, and you can try to share Grastas through all of those. We don't have Grastas for everything, but obviously got sword, dragon, bear kai, fire. So there are some things there to share with. All right. So, let's take them out for a spin. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. Alright, so pretty simple stuff. As usual, because he is a fire-based unit, we're going to bring him into the Purgatory, where the enemies are weak to his element. Not much to show here, just the fact that you can use Starworm Slash, which is the stellar move, outside of full charge of the Stellar Burst. Obviously, it's going to do a little bit less damage, but you can still use it as a, you know, clear, being that it is non-type if you need an AoE as such. Otherwise, I mean, honestly, you probably default with X Slash. The fire one would be more than adequate, or you can start off with Volcano Blade, which gives your team up to 45% crit damage up instead of 30. So that's a really nice setup. Dragon God Slash is obviously the one that applies non-type damage, but more importantly, 70% physical res. And in most fights, you will start off with that sequence of events. You're going to do Volcano Blade, Dragon Slash if they even survive, and then X Slash afterwards, spam, 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 spam. And of course, now that we do have a new move, we're going to have to slot that in somewhere when we are doing our actual fights. And so you can take a look at how I'm going to beat the bag baddies. Alright, so again, in order to maximize his Starworm Slash, you do need a team of 500 light or higher. With an Aisha, which is probably his most natural pairing, you can get there. If you're a dolphin or a whale, you probably can have other teams that can combine for 500. And again, he is 255 already, so that's already halfway there. Now, remember that once you unlocked all the Stellar board, you start with a full AF, which is very, very nice. I think he's the first unit be able to do that, and so by doing that, you do have access to you know, as many stacks and debuffs and buffs as you need. Because a half bar first turn AF is not good enough, we might as well go for the full 1 bar AF. And so you can just do the normal setup there. I did not activate the Stellar Burst yet, and remember that we only have 3 people on the front line. The more actions that Aldo does, the more it charges up his Stellar Burst, and so in this case, we didn't get a full charge yet. Once you get there, you can see it clearly glows. You can leave it unactivated, or you can just activate it at any time, and the effect is a little bit different. So when you activate it, it automatically Starworms Slashes, and it gives the full ability of the move, as opposed to doing it without the Stellar Burst. So for example, if you just spam Starworm Slash, you won't have quite the same results. I believe the boost to power and speed is only 50 as opposed to 100, and apparently it's when you activate it in Stellar Burst, it's supposed to hit weak point. Now, I was not able to trigger that in any of my examples and also my experimentation. I'm not really sure why that's the case. Obviously, bag baddies don't have any weaknesses, but I did test against other enemies who are weak to, say, fire or another element, and I didn't see it happen. So I'm a little bit disappointed. Maybe I'm just not skilled enough. Again, if you have some tips, let me know what I was doing wrong. Anyways, pretty much the thing about him is after he boosts with his Starworm Slash, because he has power and speed plus 100, you don't even have to rely on someone else to boost him. He's going to cap his own boosting, which is very, very powerful and nice. So he's actually a one-man wrecking machine. You know, a lot of team comps do require your DPS to be supported by other support units to boost power, int, and speed. You really don't need him for that. And so in our first real example, I finally dusted off my dusty stack of Astro Archive tomes and decided to challenge the Synth Drone challenge mode. Now, keep in mind that obviously we're still bringing a pretty good team, but in this case, Aldo is actually a really big contributor to the DPS. Because remember, with Astro Archive, you do have to have not only tons of damage in the AF, you actually have to do tons of damage outside the AF, because your AF damage is capped at 99999, which is 1 billion, and you really need each of your units outside AF to do multiples of up to 2 billion, which is the damage cap, in order for you to do maximum point scoring. In this case, you also do need fire or sword personalities. This team is a mono element fire team, and we are not bringing an optimized team, but I really wanted to show you more what the capability of Aldo is, because before this update, let's be honest, without heavy support, he's probably not going to do nearly as much damage, and going to be really honest, he probably wouldn't be a contender in having a team use him in order to get all the score. Obviously, Garyu does a crap ton of damage, and you can see that normally Garyu would outpace Aldo by a large margin. However, in this case, you can see that 2 slashes of 700 million was enough to kick Garyu's butt, which is very, very rare nowadays. So we do have the 2 DPS up front. Aisha obviously is just singing, which doubles our damage, and I can say that Ultra Sakia is mainly there to not only extend Awakened Zone, but to have some boosting for your team. We do have Limo as well to boost slash damage, or weapon damage, shall I say. And so with all those combined, again, not the most optimized team. I wouldn't say this is the most powerful team, but really just to demonstrate how far Aldo has come, especially after activating his Stellar Burst, as well as having that all those buffs in place. Again, the other main buffer here is Ultra Secure with crit damage up. Aisha does have fire attack up, power and speed and stuff like that, but remember that at the end of the day, I believe power, speed, and int are all capped at 100, and so if he can do it himself, even better. And other than that, the last turn we're just going to AF here. If you're wondering why I'm AFing here as opposed to doing more damage outside AF, most of the buffs only last 3 turns. Even Awaken, I guess once you activate Stellar Burst for the Starworm Slash, those boosts only last for 3 turns as well. And so in fights where you are needing longer, in this case 5 turns, you have to plan accordingly. So in this case, I got Starworm Slash to do weak point damage, but it wasn't very consistent compared to some of my other fights. Anyways, there you go. Keep on doing tons and tons of damage, and Aldo is actually one of the main DPS for this fight, which I have to say is very nice that WFS did give us a Stella Awakened Aldo. Even though his main DPS moves, aka the Fire slash X slash, the modifier is not as high as the newer units out there. I think it's still under 1,000, but the fact that he has so many other boosts and abilities to kind of make himself more powerful, he's not really going to beat the top gacha unit in the game, but at least you can dust him off and definitely use him, and you can see that this is my first time scoring nearly this high and unlocking the final rewards for this Astro Archive 2. I will actually put this as a separate video in my Astro Archive playlist, because obviously if you're not watching this video, you won't know that I beat it this way, and it will help some of you who are like me and have put it off until now. I've been waiting for Power Creep, and honestly, it hasn't been as fun doing Astro Archive, but I really want to test the limits of Aldo, see if he's actually a contender, because let's be honest, when you're building a fire team in the past before his update, you would not consider him as a frontline DPS. We have Grasta carriers with AS Radius, Fire, and Sword. Remember that he is also Dragon personality, and so you can use a character with Dragon to carry Grasta for Aldo. Okay, another good test of the capabilities of his damage is really fighting something that has a lot of innate resistance. This has a high type resistance up. Now remember that he does have Dragon God Slash, and so he can bring the 70% physical res down, and then the rest of the team can do the fire res down in order to kind of make the fight more manageable. At this point, when you activate the Stellar Burst within AF, enemy does not have weakness, but you do get your full boost of 100, and so right after that, look at his X Slash doing hundreds of millions times 2, 133 times 2. Now you can say the numbers are relatively low, but again, this boss is very, very beefy and has high innate resistances to many, many hits, and so you're not going to get tons and tons of numbers even with some of the tougher teams. When I first beat Divine Tree a long time ago, I used Eva and Flam to combine to do enough damage together, and so having just Aldo by himself, remember RCF, Aisha, and Nikoko don't do near any damage essentially, right? Now, I did have to VC in Miyunfa to give extra crit damage plus 50, and X Slash was able to finish it off. If you're also wondering, I do have Limmel in the front to help boost slash weapon damage, and not only that, I do have one of the newest sidekicks, Guns, in the background as well. If the team has any AF bar empty at any time, and that's obviously after a first turn AF, you do get a 20% boost to your stats for the entire team permanently for the whole fight. And so I do think that Guns is actually an invaluable member of the newest buddy or sidekick system. You can only get him or it through Valette's banner, and so if you haven't already, make sure you try to get that sidekick. Very, very powerful in combination with whatever other combination you want. You have Tetra, Kumos, and Limmel, and so forth. There, activates on enemy AF gauge empty. Alright, in our next example, we're going to take on an older pair of, dual hachos. Super easy. Again, very convenient. Remember, the full AF bar, you can farm to your heart's content with any team you want. Aldo will bring it to them and kill everyone very, very easily. In this case, he is the only fire DPS. Obviously, Alter Lulu is the only water DPS. Each of these dual hachos is very easy because they're weak to those elements. And so you can just one turn AF, and again, we start with a full AF at all times, and so not much of anything. You just boost crit damage and one hit of Dragon God Slash, physical res down 70, and then boom, one slash, and we're done. Again, if you had tried this 2 years ago, and I did use Aldo for this team, multiple rounds of AF were needed, lots of difficulty in finishing off this fight and just squeezing through that main DPS. Granted, we do have massive boost in crit damage from both Nikoko as well as ES Claude, and ES Claude wasn't available when the dual hachos were first here. The Nikoko obviously was, but still, Alter Lulu is a great addition to a slash team. Also, one thing to see here as a demonstration, you don't have to have a 500 light team if you're not relying on Starworm Slash to do all the damage. And I'm going to be honest, in my experimentation, I didn't feel that Starworm Slash did nearly as much damage as I expecting, given the weak it had a high modifier. Part of the reason is a non-type attack. And one thing to also remember is that I thought you could Kaleido that. No, you can't, because you have to activate that through a burst as opposed to Kaleidoing it through, outside the AF. Even with Scintillating Spirit, you can't activate Scintillating Spirit first if you have to press the burst button. Now, inside the AF, you can change Starworm Slash and the associated stellar move to that element inside the AF only. So, in conclusion, Aldo has been buffed quite nicely. his background is also very flashy, and so even though he's not necessarily as powerful as some of the gacha units out there, he is the very reliable fire slash unit, very tanky with level 100 stats, very, very powerful indeed. I'm glad to have him on my main team. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.